Welcome back to Record Rift. As our journey through history continues, we return to the vast Mongolian steppes, a land that demanded endurance and shaped unbreakable warriors. The events that follow build upon the beginnings already set in motion, revealing a people driven by survival, ambition, and unity. Now, without further delay, let us proceed with Chapter 2. Chapter 2. Temujin begins his mighty career. This intense rivalry between the descendants of Kabul and Ambagai was the great ruling fact among Mongols at this epoch. Kabul and Ambagai were second cousins, both being third in descent from Kaidu, that little boy saved by his nurse from the Gelairs, the Kaidu whose descendants were the great ruling Mongols of history. Kabul and Ambagai are remarkable themselves, and are notable also as fathers of men who sought power by all means which they could imagine and bring into practice. Yesagai with his brothers was now triumphant and prosperous. He was terribly hostile to the Bayer Lake Tartars. He was ever watching the Taijut opposition, which though resting at times, never slumbered. Once in the days of his power Yesagai while hawking along the Onan saw a merchant named Yek Kiledu, taking home with him a wife from the Alkanats. Seeing that the woman was a beauty, Yesagai hurried back to his yurta and returned with his eldest and youngest brothers to help him. Yek saw the three brothers coming. He grew frightened, struck his horse and rushed away to find some good hiding place, but found none and rode back to the cart where his wife was. "Those men are very hostile," said the woman. "Hurry off or they will kill thee. If thou survive, find a wife such as I am, if thou remember me, call her by my name." Then she drew off her shift and gave it to Yek. He took it, mounted quickly, and seeing Yesagai ap pro-aching with his brothers, galloped up the river. The three men rushed after Yek, but did not overtake him. So they rode back to the woman, whose name was Holun, was weeping. Her screams when they seized her raised waves on the river and shook trees in the valley. "The husband has crossed many ridges already and many waters," said Daratai, Yesagai's youngest brother, "no matter how thou scream, he will not come to thee. If thou look for his trail, thou wilt not find it. Stop screaming." Thus they took Holun, and she became a wife then to Yesagai. Some months after the capture of Holun, Yesagai made attacks on the Tartars, and among other captives took Temujin Yuj, chieftain. Holun gave birth to a son at that period, one near the hill Dalian Baldak. The boy was born grasping a lump of dark blood in his fist very firmly, and since he was born when Temujin Yuj was taken, they called the child Temujin. After that Holun had three other sons, Kasser, Hokian, and Tamuj, and one daughter, Timulin. When this first son had passed his 13th year, Yesagai set out with the lad on a visit to Holun's brothers to find among them a wife for him. When between the two mountains Suhurga and Cheksar he met one Dasichon, a man of the Ungurs. "Whither art thou going, O Yesagai?" asked Dasichon. "I am going with my son to his uncle's to look out a bride for him among them." "Thy son has a clear face and bright eyes," said Dasichon. Last night I dreamed that a white falcon holding the sun and the moon in its talons flew down to my wrist and perched on it. "Only know the sun and the moon through our eyesight," said I to some friends of mine, but now a white falcon has brought them both down to me in his talons. This must be an omen of greatness. At the right time hast thou come hither, Yesagai, with thy son and shown what my dream means. It presages high fortune undoubtedly. I have a daughter at home, she is small yet, but come and look at her." Then he conducted the father and son to his yurta. Yesagai rejoiced in his heart very greatly at sight of the girl, who in truth was a beauty. She was 10 years of age and named Bortai. Day Yesagai asked Bortai of Dasichon as a bride for young Temujin. "Will it show more importance if I give her only after much begging," asked the father, "or will it show slight esteem if I give her in answer to few words? We know that a girl is not born to remain in the household forever. I yield her to marry thy Son, and do thou leave him here for a time with me. The agreement was finished and Yesagai went away without. 11161. Temujin. On the road home he stopped at Cheksar and met Tartars who arranged there a feast for him. Being hungry and thirsty from traveling he halted. His hosts, who knew well that he had captured and killed very many of their people, Temujin Yuj, with others had poison made ready, and gave it in drink to him. Yesagai rode away and reached home in 3 days, but fell ill on the journey, and his trouble increased as he traveled. "There is pain in my heart," said he. "Who is near me?" At that time, Munlik, a son of Cha, happened in at the yurta, and Yesagai called him. "My children are young," said he. "I went to find a bride for my son Temujin, and have found her. On the way home, I was poisoned by enemies. My heart is very sore in me, so go thou to my brothers and see them, see their wives also." Without turning to Holun, or speaking, "Thee this is a duty, tell them all that has happened. But first, bring me Temujin very quickly." Yesagai died one shortly after without seeing Temujin. Munlik went with all haste to Desaichun. "Yesagai," said he, "wants to see Temujin, he has sent me to bring the boy." Yesagai is grieving, let Temujin go, and return to me afterward. Munlik took Temujin home as instructed. In the spring follow, and when Ambagai's widows were preparing the offerings to ancestors before moving to the summer place, they refused to share sacrificed meats with Holun, and thus shut her out from their ruling circle and relationship. "Better leave this woman here with her children, she must not go with us," said the widows. Targeted Kurultuk, who was then in authority, went from the winter place. He with Tadin Yirisha his brother had enticed away Yesagai's people. Munlik's father, Cha, an old man, strove to persuade Targatai and his brother to take Holun, but they would not listen to him or to any. "The deep water is gone, the bright stone is broken," said Taduyan. "We cannot restore them, we have nothing to do with that woman and her children." And when Targatai with his brother was starting, a warrior of his thrust a spear into Charha's back, and the old man fell down mortally wounded. Temujin went to talk with Charha and take advice from him. "Targatai and his brother," said the old man, "led away all the people assembled by thy father and our relatives." 11175. Temujin wept then and turned to his mother for assistance. Holun resolved quickly. She mounted, and, directing her attend ants to take lances, set out at the head of them. She overtook the deserting people and stopped one half of them, but even that half would not go back with her. So Targatai and Tadin had defeat Holun with her children, and taken one half of Yesagai's people. The second half joined other leaders. But Holun, a strong, resolute woman, protected her family and found means to support it. Her children lived in poor, harsh conditions and grew up in the midst of hostility and hatred. To assist and give help to their mother, they made hooks out of needles and fished in the river Onan, which was close to their dwelling. Once Temujin and Kasser went to fish with their half-brothers, Baiktar and Belgatai, Yesagai's children by another wife. Temujin caught a golden-hued trout, and his half-brothers took it from him. Went then with Kasser to Holun. "We caught a golden-hued fish," said they, "but Baiktar and Belgatai took it." "Why do ye quarrel?" asked the mother. "We have no friends at present. All have deserted us. Nothing sticks to us now but our shadows. We have no power yet to punish the Tajuts. Why do ye act like the sons of Alangoa and quarrel? Why not agree and gain strength against enemies?" Temujin was dissatisfied. He wished Holun to take his side and go against Baiktar. The other day," said he, "I shot a bird, and Baiktar took this bird also. He and his brother today snatched my fish from me. If they act always in this way, how can I live with them?" And he turned from his mother very quickly. Both brothers rushed out, slammed the door flap behind them, and vanished. When they were out, they saw Baiktar on a hill herding horses. Temujin stole up from behind, and Kasser in front. They had taken arrows and were aiming when Baiktar turned and saw them. "Why treat me like a splinter in the mouth or a hair on the eyeball?" asked he. "Though ye kill me, spare my brother. Not kill Belgatai." Then he bent his legs under him and waited. Temujin from behind and Kasser in front killed Baiktar with arrows. When they went home, Holun knew by their faces what had happened. "Thou wert born," said she to Temujin, "grasp ng blood in thy fingers. Thou and thy brother are like dogs when devouring a village, or serpents which swallow alive what they spring upon, or wolves hunting prey in a snowstorm. The juries done us by the Tajuts are terrible. Ye might plan to grow strong and then punish the Tajuts. But what are ye doing?" Well might she ask, for she did not know then her wonderful son Temujin, for whom it was as natural to remove a half-brother, or even a brother, by killing him as to set aside any other obstacle. He who worked all his life till its end to eliminate opponents was that day beginning his mighty career, and his first real work was the murder of his half-brother Baiktar, whose father was his own father, Yesagai. No matter who Temujin's enemies were, he removed them, as coolly as a teacher in his classroom rubs figures from a blackboard. He struck down the Tajuts as soon as he felt himself strong enough, but before he could do that his task was to weed out and train his own family. The first work before him was the empire of his household. Neither mother, nor brother, nor anyone must stand between Temujin and his object. And that he showed his great singleness of purpose, his invincible willpower, his wisdom in winning the success which his mind saw. The wisdom of Temujin in building up empire was an unerring clear instinct, like the instinct of a bee in constructing its honeycomb, or the judgment and skill of a bird in finding the proper material and weaving the round perfect nest for its eggs and its little ones. Temujin began his career in real practice by killing his half-brother mainly through the handoff his full brother Kasser, who's famed later on as the unerring strong archer, and who in time tried unsuccessfully to rival the invincible Temujin. Temujin was now master in a very small region, but he was his mother and brothers did not dominate or interfere. They assisted him. The family lived for a time in seclusion and uninjured till at last Targatai roused up his followers to action. "Temujin and his brothers have grown," said he. "They are stronger." Taking with him some comrades, he rode away quickly to find Temujin with his family. From afar, Holun and her children saw the men coming and were frightened. Temujin seized his horse quickly and fled before others to the mountain. Belgatai hid his half-brothers and sister in a cliff. After that he felled trees to stop the horsemen. Kasser sent arrows to hinder the Tajuts. "We want only Temujin, we want no one else," said they. Temujin had fled to Mount Targanai and hidden there in dense thickets whither they could not follow. They surrounded Targanai and watched closely. He spent 3 days in secret places, and then led his horse out to flee from the mountain. When near the edge of the forest, the saddle fell. He saw that breast strap and girth were both fixed. "A saddle may fall," thought he, "though the girth be well fastened, but how can it fall when the breast strap is holding it? I see now that heaven is protecting me." He turned back and passed 3 other days hiding. Then he tried to go out a second time. A great rock fell in front of him, blocked the road and stopped his passage. "Heaven wills that I stay here still longer," said Temujin. He went back and spent 3 other days on the mountain, 9 days in all without eating. "Must I die here alone and unheard of?" thought he despairingly. "Better go at all hazards." He cut away near the rock and led his horse down the mountainside. The Tajuts, who were watching outside very carefully, seized Temujin and took him to Targatai, who commanded that a kong be put on him and also fetters, and that he live 1 day and night in each tent. So he passed from one family to another in succession. During these changes he gained the close friendship of one Sorgan Shira and of an old woman. The old woman was kind and put rags on the kong at the points where his shoulders were galled by it. Once the Tajuts made a feast near the Onan and went home after sunset, appointing a boy to watch over the captive. Temujin had been able to break his own fetters, and seeing that all had gone home felled the boy with the Kong in which his own head and both hands were fastened. Then he ran to a forest along the Onon and lay down there, but, fearing lest they might find him, he rose, hurried on to the river and sank in it, leaving only his face above water. The boy soon recovered and screamed that the captive had fled from him. Some Tajuts rushed quickly together on hearing him, and searched around everywhere. There was moonlight that evening, and Sorgan Shira of the Solduts, who was searching with others, and had gone quite a distance ahead, found Temujin, but did not call out. "The Tajuts hate thee because thou hast wisdom," said he to the captive. "Thou wilt die if they find thee. Stay where thou art for the present, and be careful, I will not betray thee to anyone." The pursuers went some distance while searching. "This man escaped during daylight," said Sorgan Shira, when he overtook them. "It is night now and difficult to find him. Better search nearer places, we can hunt here tomorrow. He has not come thus far, how could he run such a distance with a Kong on his shoulders?" On the way back Sorgan Shira went to Temujin a second time. "We shall come hither tomorrow to search for thee," said he. "Hurry off now to thy mother and brothers. Shouldst thou meet any man, tell him not that I saw thee." When Sorgan Shira had gone, Temujin fell to thinking and thought in this manner. "While stopping at each tent I passed a day with Sorgan Shira. Chilla and Chinbo his sons showed me pity. They took off the Kong in the dark from my shoulders and let me lie down then in freedom. He saw me today, I cannot escape till this Kong is taken off. He will do that, I will go to him. He will save me." So Temujin went, and when he entered the yurta Sorgan Shira was frightened. "Why come now to me?" inquired he. "I told thee to go to thy mother and brothers." "When a bird is pursued by a falcon," said Temujin, "it hides in thick grass and thus saves itself. We should be of less value than grass were we not to help this poor youth, who thus begs us," said to himself Sorgan Shira. The boys took the Kong from the captive and burned it. Then they hid Temujin in a cart which they piled high with wool packs and told Kadin, their sister, to guard the wool carefully, and not speak of Temujin to any living person. The Tajuts appeared on the third day. "Has no one here seen that runaway?" asked they of Sorgan. "Search where ye will," was the answer. They searched the whole yurta, then they searched around the house in all places, and threw out the wool till they came to the cart box. They were going to empty this also when Sorgan laughed at them, saying, "How could any man live in a cart load of wool this hot weather?" They prodded the wool then with lances. One of these entered Temujin's leg, but he was silent and moved not. The Tajuts were satisfied, and went away without emptying the cart box. "Thou hast come very near killing me," said Sorgan to Temujin. "The smoke of my house would have vanished, and my fire would have died out forever had they found thee. Go now to thy mother and brothers." He gave Temujin a white-nosed, sorrel mare without a saddle, gave him a boiled lamb which was fat because reared by two mothers, gave him a skin of mare's milk, a bow and 2 arrows, but no flint lest he strike fire on the way, and betray himself. Temujin went to the ruins of his first house and then higher up the Onon till he reached the Kimura. He saw tracks near that river and followed them on to Mount Baitar. In front of that mountain is a smaller one, Horchikan. There he found all his brothers and Holon his mother. Temujin moved now with them to Mount Burin. Near Burin is the high land Gulialgu. Through this land runs the river Sangur. On the bank of that river is a hill called Karajiraj and a green-colored lake near the foot of it. At this lake Temujin fixed his yurta, trapped marmots and field mice, and thus they lived on for a season. At last some Tajut thieves drove off 8 horses from Temujin, leaving only the white-nosed sorrel mare which Sorgan had given him, and on which Belgatai had gone to hunt marmots. He came back that evening with a load of them. "The horses have been stolen," said Temujin. "I will go for them," said Belgatai. "Thou couldst not find them," answered Kasser. "I will go." "Ye could not find them, and if ye found them ye could not bring them back," called out Temujin. "I will go." Temujin set his brothers aside as useless at that juncture. Their authority and worth were to him as nothing. Temujin's is the genuine authority. He rode off on the white-nosed sorrel mare, and followed the trail of the 8 stolen horses. He traveled 3 days, and on the 4th morning early, he saw near the road a young man who had led up a mare and was milking her. Hast thou seen 8 grey horses? Asked Temujin. Before sunrise 8 horses went past me, I will show thee the trail over which they were driven. Temujin's weary beast was led out then to pasture. A white horse with a black stripe on its spine was led in to go farther. The youth hid his leather pail and his bag in the grass very carefully. Thou art tired, said he to Temujin, and art anxious. My name is Burchu, I will go with thee for thy horses. Nahaboyan is my father, I am his one son and he loves me. So they set out together and traveled 3 days in company. On the 3rd day toward evening they came to a campground 4 and saw the 8 horses. Stay at this place, O my comrade, said Temujin, I will go and drive off those horses. If I have come hither to help thee, why should I stay alone and do nothing? Asked Burchu. So they went on together and drove off the horses. The thieves hurried after them promptly, and one, who rode a white stallion, had a lasso and was gaining on the comrades. Give me thy quiver and bow, said Burchu, I will meet him with an arrow. Let me use the bow, answered Temujin, those enemies might wound thee. The man on the white horse was directing his lasso and ready to hurl it when Temujin's arrow put an end to his action. That night Temujin and Burchu made a journey which would have taken 3 days for any other men, and saw the yurta of Nahaboyan in the distance at daybreak. Without thy help, said Temujin, I could not have brought back these horses. Without thee I could have done nothing, so let us divide now these 8 beasts between us. I decided to help thee, answered Burchu, because I saw thee weighed down and weary from sorrow and loneliness. Why should I take what is thine from thee? I am my father's one son, his wealth is enough for me, more is not needed. If I should take thine, how couldst thou call me thy comrade? When they entered the yurta of Nahaboyan they found the old man grieving bitterly for Burchu. On seeing them he shed tears and reproached his son sharply. I know not, said Burchu in answer, how I thought of assisting this comrade, but when I saw him worn and anxious I had to go with him. Things are now well again, for I am with thee, my father. Nahaboyan became satisfied when he heard the whole story. Burchu rode off then and brought the leather milk pail, killed a lamb, filled a bag with mare's milk, and tying it to the horse like a pack gave Temujin all to sustain him. Ye are young, said Nahaboyan, be ye friends and be faithful. Temujin took farewell of Burchu and his father. 3 days after that he had reached home with his horses. No words could describe the delight of his mother and brothers when they saw him. Temujin had passed his 13th year when he parted from Bortai. He went down the Karelin now with his half-brother, Belgai, to get her. Several years had passed and he had a wish to marry. Bortai's father rejoiced at seeing Temujin. I grieved, said he, greatly and lost hope of seeing thee when I heard of Tejut hatred. Both parents escorted their daughter and her husband. Desai Chan after going some distance turned homeward, as was usual for fathers, but Bortai's mother, Sotan, went on to Temujin's yurta. Temujin wished now to have Burchu, wished him as a comrade forever, and sent Belgutai to bring him. Burchu said nothangi to his father or to anyone. He took simply a humpbacked sorrel horse, saddled him, strapped a coat of black fur to the saddle and rode away quickly to Temujin's yurta. After that he never left him. Temujin removed from the Sangur to the springs of the Karulan and fixed his yurta at the foot of the slope known as Burji. Bortai had brought with her a black sable cloak as a present to Holan. In former days, said Temujin to his brothers, our father, Yesagai, became a sworn friend, an asterisk and to Togrul of the Carrots, hence Togrul is to me in the place of my father, we will go now and show Togrul honor. Temujin and 2 of his brothers took the cloak to Togrul in the Black Forest on the Tula. In former days, said Temujin as he stood before Togrul, thou didst become Anda to Yesagai, hence thou art to me in the place of my father. I bring thee today, my father, a gift brought by my wife to my mother. With these words he gave the black sable to Togrul, who was pleased very greatly with the offering. I will bring back to thee thy people who are scattered, said Togrul in answer, and join them again to thee. I will keep this in mind very firmly and not forget it. When Temujin returned home the old man Sharkai came from Mount Burin with the bellows of a blacksmith on his shoulders, and brought also Kelmai, his son, with him. Thou wert born, said Sharkai to Temujin, I gave thee a lined sable wrap, I gave thee to my son Kelmai, but as he was very little at that time, I kept the boy with me and trained him, but now when he is grown up and skillful I bring him. Let him saddle thy horse and open doors to thee. With that he gave his son Kelmai to Temujin. Some short time after this, just before daybreak one morning, Hokshin, an old woman, Holun's faithful servant, who slept on the ground, sprang up quickly and called to her mistress, "O mother, rise, I hear the earth tremble. O mother, the Tajuts are coming, our terrible destroyers. Hasten, O mother." "Rouse up the children," said Holun, "wake them all quickly." Holun rose to her feet as she was speaking. Temujin and his brothers sprang up and ran to their horses. Holun carried her daughter Timulin. Temujin had only one saddle beast ready. There was no horse for Bortai, so he galloped off with his brothers, thus showing that self-preservation was his one thought. Hokshin, the old woman, hid Bortai. She stowed her away in a small blakabitka cart, attached a pied cow to it and drove along the river Tungela. As the night darkness cleared and light was approaching, some mounted men overtook the old woman. "Who art thou?" asked they, riding up to her. "I go around and shear sheep for rich people. I am on my way home now," said Hokshin. "Is Temujin at his yurta?" asked a horseman. "Where is it?" "His yurta is not far, but I know not where he is at this moment," answered Hokshin. When the men had ridden off, the old woman urged on the cow, but just then the axle broke. Hokshin wished to hurry on foot to the mountain with Bortai, but the horseman had turned back already and came to her. "Who is in there?" asked a man as he pointed at the kibitka. "I have wool there," replied the old woman. "Let us look at this wool, brothers," said one of the mounted men. They dragged Bortai out, and then put her on horseback with Hokshin. Next they followed on Temujin's tracks to Mount Burin, but could not come up with him. Wishing to enter the mountain land straightway, they tried one and another place, but found no road of any kind open. In one part a sticky morass, in another a dense growth of forest and thicket. They did not find the secret road and could not break in at any. These horsemen were from 3 clans of Merkits. The first had been sent by Tuktabiji of the Udits, Thiskon Bidaryusin of the Uits, the third by Haidarmala of the Huts. They had come to wreak vengeance on Temujin because Yesagai, his father, had snatched away Holun from Kaladu, and this Holun was Temujin's mother. They now carried off Bortai, Temujin's wife, who was thus taken in vengeance, as they said, for the stealing of Holun. Temujin, fearing lest they might be in ambush, sent his half-brother, Belgatai, and Burchu, with Kelmai to examine and discover. In 3 days, when these men were well satisfied that the Merkits had gone from the mountain, Temujin left his hiding place. He stood, struck his breast and cried, looking heavenward, "Thanks to the ears of a skunk, and the eyes of an ermine in the head of old Hokshin, I escaped capture. Besides that Mount Burin has saved me, and from this day I will make offering to the mountain, and leave to my children and their children this duty of sacrifice." Then he turned toward the sun, put his girdle on his back, took his cap in his hand, and striking his breast bent his knees 9 times in homage. He made next a libation of Tarasun, a liquor distilled out of mare's milk. After that Temujin with Kasser and Belgadai went to Togrul on the Tula and implored him, "O father and sovereign," said Temujin, 3 clans of Merkits fell on us suddenly, and stole my wife, Bort. Is it not possible to save her? "Last year," said Togrul, "when the cloak of black sable was brought to me, I promised to lead back thy people who deserted, and those who were scattered. I remember this well, and because of my promise I will root out the Merkits, I will rescue and return to thee Bortai. Inform Jamuka that thy wife has been stolen. 2 Chumans, one of warriors, will go with me, let Jamuka lead out the same number." Message: Jamuka, chief of the Juriats at that time, was descended from a brother of Kabul Khan, and was 3rd cousin therefore to Temujin. Temujin sent his brothers to Jamuka with this: "The Merkits have stolen my wife, thou and I have the same origin. Can we not avenge this great insult?" He sent Togrul's statement also. "I have heard," said Jamuka, "that a Chuman is 10,000. Temujin's wife has been stolen. I am grieved very greatly at his trouble and will help him." He told where the 3 clans were camping and promised to aid in bringing back Bortai. "Tell Temujin and Togrul," said he, that my army is ready. With me are some people belonging to Temujin. From them I will gather 1 chuman of warriors and take the same number of my own folk with them. I will go up to Butohen Borchi on the Onon where Togrul will meet me. They took back the answer to Temujin, and went to Togrul with the words from Jamuka. Togrul set out with 2 chumans of warriors toward the Karelin and met Temujin at the river Kimura. 1 chuman of Togrul's men was led by Jigambo, his brother. Jamuka waited 3 days at Butohen Borchi for Togrul and Jigambo. He was angry and full of reproaches when he met them. When conditions are made between allies, said he, though wind and rain come to Ihinder, men should meet at the season appointed. The time of our meeting was settled. A given word is the same as an oath. If the word is not to be kept, no ally should be invited. I have come 3 days late, said Togrul. Blame and punish me, Jamuka, my brother, until thou art satisfied. The warriors went on now, crossed the Kilho to Bura where they seized all the people and with them the wifey off the market, Tuktabiji. Tuktabiji, who was sleeping, would have been captured had not his hunters and fishermen hurried on in the night time and warned him. He and Dare Yusin, his brother, rushed away down the river to Bargajin. When the Merkits were fleeing at night down along the Salinga, Togrul's men hunted on fiercely and were seizing them. In that rushing crowd Temujin shouted, "Bortai, O Bortai!" She was with the fleeing people. She knew Temujin's voice and sprang from a small covered cart with Hokshin, the old woman. Running up, she caught Temujin's horse by the bridle. The moon broke through clouds that same moment, and each knew the other. Temujin sent to Togrul without waiting. "I have found," said he, "those whom I was seeking. Let us camp now and go on no farther tonight." They camped there. When the Merkits with 300 men attacked Temujin to take vengeance for snatching off Kaledu's wife, Holun, Tuktabiji, the brother of Kaledu, with 2 other leaders rode 3 times round Mount Burin, but could not find Temujin, and only took Bort. They gave her as wife to Chiljer, a younger brother of Kaledu, the first husband of Holun, Temujin's mother. This Kaledu was perhaps Temujin's father. Now, when a great army was led in by Togrul and Jamuka, Chiljer was cruelly frightened. "I have been doomed like a crow," said he, "to eat wretched scraps of old skin, but I should like greatly the taste of some wild goose. By my offenses against Bortai I have brought evil suffering on the Merkits. The harm which now has befallen them may crush me also. To save my life I must hide in some small and dark corner." Having said this he vanished. Haidarmala was the only man captured. They put a Kong on his neck and went straight toward Mount Burin. Those 300 Merkits who rode thrice round Mount Burin were slain, every man of them. Their wives, who were fit to continue as wives, were given to new husbands. Those who should only be slaves were delivered to slavery. "Thou, O my father, and thou my Anda," said Temujin to Togrul and Jamuka, "heaven through the aid which he gave me has strengthened my hands to avenge a great insult. The Merkits who attacked me are extinguished, their wives are taken captive, the work is now ended." That same year Bortai gave birth to her first son, Juchi, and because of her captivity the real father of Juchi was always a question in the mind of Temujin. The Udits had left in their camp a beautiful small boy, Kuechu. He had splendid bright eyes, was dressed in river sable, and on his feet were boots made of deer hoofs. When the warriors took the camp they seized Kuechi and gave him to Holun. Temujin, Togrul and Jamuka destroyed all the dwellings of the Merkits and captured the women left in them. Togrul returned then to the Tula. Temujin and Jamuka went to Horho Nachabur and fixed a camp there. The 2 men renewed former times and the origin of their friendship. Each promised now to love the other more firmly than aforetime, if possible. Temujin was in his boyhood, 11 years of age, when they made themselves Andas the first day. Both were guests of Togrul at that period. Now they swore friendship again, became Andas a second time. They discussed friendship with each other. "Old people," said Temujin, "declare that when men become Andas both have one life as it neither abandons the other, and each guards the life of his Anda. Now we strengthen our friendship anew, and refresh it." At these words Temujin girded Jamuka with a golden belt, which he had taken from the Merkits, and Jamuka gave him a rich girdle and a splendid white stallion, which he had captured. They arranged a feast under a broad spreading tree near the cliff known as Hulda, and at night they slept under one blanket together. Temujin and Jamuka, from love, as it were, of each other, lived 18 months in glad, careless company, but really each of the two men was studying and watching his Anda and working against him with all the power possible, as was shown very clearly in the sequel. At last, during April, while moving, the two friends spurred on ahead of the kibitkas and were talking as usual. "If we camp near that mountain in front," said Jamuka all at once, "the horse herds will get our yurtas. If we camp near the river, the shepherds will have food for their gullets." Temujin made no answer to words which seemed dark and fateful, so he halted to wait for his wife and his mother. Jamuka rode farther and left him. When Holan had come up to him, Temujin told her the words of Jamuka, and said, "I knew not what they could signify, hence I gave him no answer. I have come to ask thy opinion, mother." Holan had not time to reply because Bortai was quicker. "People say," declared Bortai, "that thy friend seeks the new and despises the old. I think that he is tired of us. Is there not some trick in these words which he has given thee? Is there not some danger behind them? We ought not to halt. Let us go on all night by a new road, and not stop until daybreak. It is better to part in good health from Jamuka." "Bortai talks wisdom," said Temujin. He went on then by his own road, aside from Jamuka, and passed near one camp of the Tajuts, who were frightened when they saw him. They rose up and hurried away that same night to Jamuka. Those Tajuts left in their camp a small boy, Kokochu. Temujin's men found the lad and gave him as a present to Holan. After this swift, all-night's journey, when day came, Temujin's party was joined by many Jalairs. Horchi of the Baron clan came then to Temujin after daybreak and spoke to him as follows: "I know through a revelation of the spirit what will happen, and to thee I now tell it. In a vision I saw a pied cow coming up to Jamuka. She stopped, looked at him, dug the earth near his yurta and broke off one horn as she was digging. Then she bellowed very loudly and cried, 'Give back my horn, O Jamuka.' After that a strong hornless bull came drawing the pins of a great ruler's tent behind Temujin's kibitka. This great bull lowed as he traveled and said, 'Heaven appoints Temujin to be lord of dominion, I am taking his power to him. This is what the spirit revealed in my vision. What delight wilt thou give me for this revelation? When I become lord of dominion, I will make thee commander of 10,000, said Temujin. I have told thee much of high value, said Horchi. If thou make me merely commander of 10,000, what great delight can I get from the office? Make me that, and let me choose also as wives 30 beautiful maidens wherever I find them, and give me besides what I ask of thee. Temujin nodded, and Horchi was satisfied. Next came a number of men from 4 other clans. These had all left Jamuka for Temujin, and joined him at the river Ki Mura. And then was completed a work of great moment. Altan, Hutcher, and Sakai Baiki took counsel with all their own kinsmen, and when they had finished they stood before Temujin and spoke to him as follows. We wish to proclaim thee, said they. When thou art Khan, we shall be in the front of every battle against all thy enemies. When we capture beautiful women and take splendid stallions and maras, we will bring all to thee surely, and when at the hunt thou art beating in wild beasts, we will go in advance of others and give thee the game taken by us. If in battles we transgress thy commands, or in peace we work harm to thee in any way, take from us everything, take wives and property, and leave us out then in wild, barren places to perish. Having sworn thus, they proclaimed Temujin, and made him Khan over all of them. Temujin, now Khan in the land of the 4 upper rivers, commanded his comrade Burchu, whom he called youngest brother, together with Ojaleu, Hokian, Chedai, and Tukolku to carry his bows and his quiver. Vanguru and Katan Dalder to dispense food and drink, to be masters of nourishment. Dagai was made master of shepherds, Gutchiger was made master of kibitkas. Dodai became master of servants. After that he commanded Kubilai, Chilgutai, and Karkato Kurown with Kasser his brother to be swordbearers, his half-brother Belgatai with Karol Dato Kurown to be masters of horse training. Daichu, Daihut, Morichi, and Muthalhu were to be masters of horse herds. Then he commanded Arkai Kasser, Tagai, and Sukagai Choran to be like near and distant arrows, that is, messengers to near and distant places. Subatai the valiant spoke up then and said, I will be like an old mouse in snatching, I will be like a jackdaw in speed, I will be like a saddlecloth to hide things, I will ward off every enemy, as felt wards off wind, that is what I shall be for thee. Temujin turned then to Burchu and Kelmai. When I was alone, said he, ye two before other men came to me as comrades. I have not forgotten this. Be ye first in all this assembly. Then he spoke further, and said to other men, to you who have gathered in here after leaving Jamuka, and have joined me, I declare that if heaven keeps and upholds me as hitherto, ye will all be my fortunate helpers and stand in high honor before me. Then he instructed them how to perform their new duties. Temujin sent Tagai and Sukagai to announce his accession to Togrul of the Karates. It is well, said Togrul, that Temujin is made Khan. How could ye live even to this time without a commander? Be not false to the Khan whom ye have chosen. Temujin sent Arkai Kasser and Belgutai with similar tidings to Jamuka, who answered, tell Altan and Hutcher, Temujin's uncle and cousin, that they by calumnies have parted me now from my Anda, and ask them why they did not proclaim Temujin when he and I were one person in spirit? Be ye all active assistants to Temujin. Let his heart be at rest through your faithfulness. This was the formal official reply. Jamuka's real answer was given soon after. Taichar, a younger brother of Jamuka, was living not far from Mount Chalma, and a slave of Temujin, named Dharmala, was stopping for a season at Sari Kir. A slave was considered in the customs of that age and people as a brother, hence was as a brother in considering a vendetta and dealing with it. Taichar stole a herd of horses from Dharmala, whose assistants feared to follow and restore them. Dharmala rushed alone in pursuit and came up with his herd in the night time. Bending forward to the neck of his horse, he sent an arrow into Taichar. The arrow struck his spine and killed the man straightway. Dharmala then drove back his horses. Jamuka, to take vengeance for his brother, put himself at the head of his own and some other clans. With these he allied himself straightway with Temujin's mortal enemies, the Tajuts. 3 Chumans of warriors, 30,000, were assembled by Targatai and Jamuka. They had planned to attack their opponent unexpectedly and crossed the ridge Alat Turhau for this purpose. Temujin, in Gulialgu at that time, was informed of this movement by Molkatoka and by Boldai, who were both of them Ikarats. His warriors all told were 13,000 in number, and with these he marched forth to meet Targatai and Jamuka. He was able to choose his own time, and he struck the invaders as suited him. He fought with these enemies at Dalan Daljit and gained his first triumph, a bloody victory, and immense in its value as results proved. Targatai and Jamuka were repulsed with great loss. Their army was broken and scattered, and many were taken prisoners. After this fierce encounter, Temujin led his men to a forest not far from the battleground, where he ranged all his prisoners, and selected the main ones for punishment. Beyond doubt there were many among them of those who had enticed away people after the poisoning of Yesagai, Temujin's father, men who had left the orphan and acted with Targatai, his bitterest enemy. In 70, or as some state, in 80 large cauldrons, he boiled alive those of them who were worthiest of punishment. The boiling continued each day till he had tortured to death the most powerful and vindictive among his opponents. This execution spread terror on all sides, and since Temujin showed the greatest kindness to his friends not only during those days, but at all times, and rewarded them to the utmost, hope and fear brought him many adherents. The Urits and Manhuts, the first led by Churchadai, and the second by Quildar, drew away from Jamuka and joined Temujin, the new victor. Munlik of the clan Quanhedin came also, bringing with him his 7 mighty sons who were immensely great fighters and venomous. This Munlik, a son of that Chara whom one of Targatai's followers had wounded to death with it spear thrust, was the man who had brought home Temujin from the house of Diskan, his father-in-law, when his own father, Yesagai, was dying. Soon after the boiling to death of those captives in the forest, a division of the Juriats, that is Jamuka's own clansmen, came and joined Temujin for the following reason. The Juriat lands touched those of Temujin's people, and on a certain day men of both sides were hunting, and the parties met by pure chance in the evening. "Let us pass the night here with Temujin," said some of the Juriats. Others would not consent, and one half of the party, made up altogether of 400, went home, the other 200 remained in the forest. Temujin gave these men all the meat needed, and kettles in which they could boil it. He treated them generously and with friendship. These Juriats halted still longer and hunted with Temujin's party. They received every evening somewhat more of the game than was due them. At parting they were satisfied with Temujin's kindness and thanked him sincerely. At heart they felt sad, for their position was painful. They wished greatly to join Temujin, but desired not to leave their own people, and on the way home they said to one another as they traveled, "The Tajuts are gone, they will not think of us in future. Temujin cares for his people and does everything to defend them." On reaching home they talked with their elders. "Let us settle still nearer to Temujin," said they, "and obey him, give him service." "What harm have the Tajuts done you?" was the answer. "They are kinsfolk. How could we become one with their enemy and leave them?" Notwithstanding this answer, Ulugh Bahadur and Tugai Talu with their kinsmen and dependents went away in a body to Temujin. "We have come," said they, "like a woman bereft of her husband, or a herd without a master, or a flock without a shepherd. In friendship and agreement we would live with thee, we would draw our swords to defend thee, and cut down thy enemies." "I was like a sleeping man when ye came to me," said Temujin. "Ye pulled me by the forelock and roused me. I was sitting here in sadness, and ye cheered me. I will do what I can now to satisfy your wishes." He made various rules and arrangements which pleased them, and they were satisfied perfectly, at least for a season. Temujin wished to strengthen his position still further, and desired to win to his alliance Podu, who was chief of the Kurulots, whose lands were adjacent to the Argun. This chief was renowned as an archer and a warrior. Temujin offered him his sister in marriage. The offer was accepted with gladness. Podu was ready to give Temujin half his horses and proffered them. "Oh," said Temujin, "thou and I will not mention either. Taking or giving, we too are brothers and allies, not traffickers or traders. Men in the old time have said that one heart and one soul cannot be in two bodies, but this is just what in our case I shall show to all people as existing. I desire nothing of thee and thy people but friendship. I wish to extend my dominion and only ask faithful help from my sister's husband and his tribes." Men. The marriage took place and Podu was his ally. Soon after this first group of Juriats had joined Temujin, some more of their people discussed at a meeting as follows. "The Tajuts torment us unreasonably, they give us nothing whatever, while Temujin takes the coat from his back and presents it. He comes down from the horse which he has mounted, and gives that same horse to the needy. He is a genuine leader. He is to all as a father. His is the best governed country." Fraction also joined Temujin. Another marriage to be mentioned was that of Temujin's mother to Munlik, son of Churha, and father of the 7 brothers, the great fighters. All these accessions of power, and his victory, so strengthened Temujin and rejoiced him that he made for his mother and stepmothers and kinsfolk, with all the new people, a feast near the river Onan, in a forest. At this feast feminine jealousy touching position, and the stealing of a bridle, brought about a dispute and an outbreak. In spite of Temujin's power and authority, an encounter took place at the feast which caused one chief, Sijbiji of the Barons, to withdraw with his party. He withdrew not from the feast alone, but from his alliance with Temujin. The quarrel began in this way. Temujin sent a jar of mare's milk first of all to his mother, to Kasser and to Sakhai Baiki. Thereupon Halakin and Hurchin, his 2 stepmothers, grew angry. "Why not give milk to us before those people? Why not give milk to us at the same time with Temujin's mother?" As they struck Shikir, who was master of provisions, the striking brought on a disturbance. Thereupon Temujin commanded his half-brother, Belgai, to mount his horse and keep order, and take Buri Buga on the part of the Cherkis to help him. Man of the Hadjin clan and connected with the Cherkis stole a bridle and was discovered by Belgatai, who stopped him. Buri Buga, feeling bound to defend this man, cut through Belgatai's shoulder piece, wounding him badly. Belgatai made no complaint when his blood flowed. Temujin, who was under a tree looking on, noted everything. "Why suffer such treatment?" inquired he of Belgatai. "I am wounded," said Belgatai. But the wound is not serious. Cousins should not quarrel because of me. Temujin broke a branch from the tree, seized a milk paddle, sprang himself at the Cherkis and beat them. Then seizing his stepmothers he brought them back to their places. And to reason. The two Juriat parties which had joined Temujin grew cool. In allegiance soon after that feast at the river. They were brought to this state of mind beyond doubt by intrigues of Jamukha. Next, they fought with each other, and finally deserted. Jamukha was a man of immense power in plotting and one who never ceased to pursue his object. Temujin tried to win some show of kindness from Jamukha. In other words, he made every effort to subdue him by deep subtle cunning, but all efforts proved fruitless. These men were bound to win power. Without power, life was no life for either one of the two master tricksters. Ever his action or seeming at any time Jamukha was Temujin's mortal enemy always. He kept undying hatred in his heart, and was ever planning some blow at his rival. When the Juriats were at their best he was plotting, when they were scattered and weak, and had in part gone to Temujin, he was none the less active and made common cause with the enemies of his opponent wherever he could find them. Temujin cared for no man or woman, and for no thing on earth if opposed to his plans of dominion.